Orb on the Movements of the Earth, Episode 9.
もうこの目では何も見えんか。
Is this Piest?
だが死ぬ前に見なければならんものがある。
I think he's gonna come around. I think I know where he fits in. And I think he'll be okay with it once he figures it out.
そろそろいいだろう。君に私の宇宙を譲ろう。
It's a big deal. And very symbolic. And later he will probably give his universe to them, Oczy and Baldini.
治療室だ。私しか入れん。
And they will give their universe to someone else.
手量だ。
It's not just the books, though it's also the books.
これを見てみろ。
This is my favorite.
制度も申し分ないし、等速変運動も達成してる。
The picture?
ああ、この制度までたどり着いているのは人類の歴史上おそらく私だけだ。
In the picture?
宇宙の正しい形だ。
Oh.
あらゆる可能性、選択肢、未来を捨ててこの修正宇宙に一生をかけてきた。
And that's okay.
協力者はいらない。きっと真理にたどり着けるのは選ばれし、ただ
I
一
mean, there's
人
something
だ
in here
け。
for Baldini, right? This is Baldini-like.
長年研究しているといろいろ見えてくる。観測、理論、計算、発想、そのすべてにおいて今や君が勝っている。真理への道はあまりに狭い。
He gets it.
宇宙の完成なんて私にはとても。
The phrasing of that is weird, right? Like, if it's deliberate, it's really cool because one of the constant things or something that keeps popping up again and again with characters, they have it just a little bit backwards where, like, they're not actually doing anything in the universe. We are not perfecting the cosmos. The cosmos just is what it is, probably, and we're seeking to understand it. It's not about any of them or their vanity. It's just about uncovering the truth as sort of a service to mankind. This is a really interesting flashback for Piest in that it's both worse than I thought and better than I thought. Because if Piest feels like him changing his mind or going back on it is betraying his master's legacy and this huge thing he's been entrusted with, this massive responsibility. But it's better than he thinks also, because reading between the lines a little bit from what his master's saying, I think his master has changed a lot since we first saw him. Now it feels less egotistical, it feels less about himself, and feels more about the truth, and like he's putting forth this model as his best version of what he thinks the truth is. But if PS were to pick up that gauntlet and contribute in any small way whatsoever, even if that means handing over the key to the universe to the next generation, his master probably would be proud. It just depends on like what the reading of the legacy is exactly and what the focus was.
あれが宇宙の正しい形。そんな大仕事引き継げるのか。
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
重要なのは無謀さではないか。
Audacity, this word again.
教授の宇宙を完成させ。
Is that it? Is that the shoe dropping?
俺は
There's a mistake. It's actually not perfect.
素晴らしいひらめきだと思います。いや、歴史を変えるものだ。しかし、やはり私には不相応です。
Okay. I think you noticed a mistake, and this is his way of.
そうか。
It's weird. I don't know. Because if you love your master, there's a weird conflict there, inner conflict.
5年前、あの話を断ったのは私の研究を疑っていたからだろう。
そんな、あれは素晴らしい。あんなに正確な宇宙見たことがない。
But it's not perfect.
あれは美しい。緻密で理想的で。
If I do say so myself.
だが完成しないのだ。いくらやっても。
This is a much deeper thing, it feels like.
本当に恐ろしいのは、そもそもこの仮説が前提から全て間違いだった場合だ。
Oof, that is scary. I'm not unsympathetic to this.
なんて無駄な人生は。
違う。そんなのありえない。宇宙が完成しなかったのは教授の能力が単に足りなかっただけだ。
Is that better?
捧げた教授の人生も間違ってない。
It wasn't, but not because it's correct. Oh, yeah, this is such a deep promise. This has so much emotional significance to it.
真理を。
PS actually seems like a really great, loving, kind guy. What a dramatic goodbye, too. Good God. This is really well conceived and designed in its poignancy. Because like I said, it's kind of everything at once, right? Like the interpretation of this is going to be really important. And his last words or his last request was like, we'll meet in heaven and we'll discuss the truth. And it's up to PS to sort through all of this because there's so much to sort through and find out what's truly valuable here. And I think a lot of it is going to be their relationship and their bond, which is what it is or was what it was, regardless of their models and theories of the way the planets move around the sun or whatever. Not to say that that aspect of it is insignificant. It's just like separately we have the relationship, which is beautiful. And then the question of what would be the greatest way to honor him. And just from the little we get to see of him, I think if we try to look all the way down to his core, this attachment to this particular idea and all of this hard work and this aching pain of the thought of being wrong possibly about everything you've ever done comes from something that is really beautiful, which is a desire to contribute towards the understanding of truth. That seems like the underpinning of it, or like the best aspect of the underpinning of it. And I think a lot of negative traits are actually something like good traits that just get tangled in themselves, right? So there's so much desire for that great thing that there ends up being weird counterproductive side effects of that, of like being too attached to this one thing because of the fear that we're not getting to the thing we want so much, this beautiful thing we're aiming for. But untying that knot, you know, we're back at searching for the truth. Yet again, I think there's something in here that's just universally applicable, where for any human being, there is no final finish point. There's no like riding off into the sunset final moment. There may be like a series of moments where arcs conclude, but no one person is the center of the universe either. So it's not about our story and that like any of our endeavors will bring out some totality of human existence, or that we will like solve for the problems of anything significant in a long enough timeline. But maybe that's not the proper scale anyway, right? Because the world, the universe we live in are just so unfathomably, unimaginably grander and larger than us, more enduring than us, that if anything, we're here for it, you know? Like, it's not here for us. Maybe a way of looking at it is that it's a privilege to be able to take part in something so grand at all. And then even better than that is like actually having some positive impact, you know, even if it's like 0.000000000, etc. 1 on whatever quantifiable scale you could possibly make, then that's a huge gift and a privilege and an honor. And so like being wrong is not just fine. I think in a lot of things, the best way to get to the truth is just like being wrong enough. You just have to be wrong enough times and you'll likely find the truth, or you'll find like the next best thing that you're capable of, and so on and so forth. And so maybe humanity is just like a collaborative project of being wrong enough times. He's totally broken up inside. Speaking of legacy, right? It's not just the Cosmo thing either. I mean, look at what the professor gave to Pius. And now I suspect Pius will be a mirror for the professor because he has all the fears the professor had, but more because he's also carrying what he thinks is the professor's legacy and meaning of his life on his shoulders.
一度の見間違いが私の人生に疑念を生じさせたのは事実だ。だからこの機にはっきりとあれは誤りだったと確証を得たい。
Interesting. I feel like there's something about it that would be validating if you found out what you saw was real. I don't know what that means.
惑星は太陽を中心に動いていると考えるのが自然だ。つまりこれで地球中心という現状の宇宙論は退けられる。
He's given them a chance.
満ちた金星が観測できぬなら地動説など退けられる。
I don't think that follows, but maybe that's by design. Like, I don't know, the planet stuff is not natural to me, so just a gut feeling. But I think, logically, they have the more compelling case, because them demonstrating Venus in its final phase would be a serious challenge to Earth-centrism, but them not being able to find evidence doesn't prove Earth-centrism. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, but I could be wrong. Maybe he's trying to stack the odds a little bit.
本当に貴様らの
If you imbeciles.
そのためにまず視力検査だ。あの板には瞳ほどの大きさの図形が書かれている。
Man, how good your eyes have to be.
深淵か答えろ。
Maybe this is a lie test. Maybe there's nothing drawn.
無謀だ。
Maybe Oxy's got it. Oxy has good eyes.
どちらでもありません。
Oh, it was option
右が欠けた
C. Brilliant. I do love my option C's.
私は部屋へ戻る。金星が出たら呼べ。
Oh, okay. Can we just come back later? No pressure, Oxy, but this is all on you and your eyesight.
もし今日満ちた金星が見えなかったら、地球は宇宙の中心にあって、つまり底辺に貼り付けられてるってことですよね。心配なんです。
It means you haven't overturned the prevailing theory.
ずっと疑問だったんです。この世は
What's bothered you?
最低というには魅力的すぎる。荒れ狂う自然や理性のない獣、罪深い人間。
It's part of it.
そういった悲劇の類の者たちですら なぜか全て美しさを備えてる。
About the ferocious and primitive things being beautiful in their own way, I'll use the same analogy again of like even things that are great have a way of sort of getting tied in a knot in ways that are counterproductive, right? So like ferocity, for example, and probably like a ton, maybe most of other negative aspects of animal life are probably just offshoots of the will and fight to survive in a world where material is limited. And I wouldn't say that the will and fight to live is inherently an ugly thing.
俺が金星が満ちてるって言ってもピャスト博は信じないって可能性はあ
He
りま
might.
せ
I
ん
mean, he
か
can't see it himself.
ある。だがその場合でも
He could
少
stack
な
the
くとも
deck.
私は真理を知れる。
It's true.
今から俺が見るものは結果がどちらにせよ宇宙の何かを確定させてしまうんですよね
Again, with this, like, we will shape the universe.
世界を変えようなんて信念はないただ天国へ行きたいだけだったのになんで今ここにいてどうしてこんなことしてるのか
There's so many little
全然わからない
interlinking ideas between every character. He wasn't content with this theory either. He wasn't content with this from the beginning.
一番よくわからないの
Just
は
like Piest.
俺は今満ちた金星が見たいってことです
And there's a weird relief, too. There's a weird relief to finding out that reality was everything you feared. I don't know how to account for that other than just there is something about us that understands intuitively that the truth is good. This is anecdotal and just total guesswork on my part. But if I had to try to calculate, I'm reasonably confident that the majority of my idea-based pain was not actually from learning unpleasant things, but being afraid that I would learn unpleasant things. For example, it's not the learning about a betrayal that has occurred, but worrying that a betrayal might occur or that it has occurred and that you have no way of knowing. Or maybe having a deep insecurity, you know, wondering, do people think this about me? Wondering, how come nobody ever mentions this about me? Like, surely they notice this about me. Surely people think this negative thing about me. And all the agony that goes into that. And then maybe people actually just don't care, right? Like, people don't focus on others as much as they focus on themselves. Like, everyone probably is doing the same thing you're doing, but about them. But in the case that you're right and people do notice that about you, well, it just doesn't really matter that much, probably. It's not as insidious or terrible or game over-ish as you think it is. It's just a thing that happens. Like my earlier example about overfixation on the meaning of things. It doesn't mean what you think it means. It's not the death sentence it feels like it is. In some cases, there are revelations that are just incredibly painful. But what that assessment might miss is that it's not like you're pain-free trying to live your life not looking at the thing or not facing the thing or not turning that corner. It's just a very, very slow, dull ache that you're carrying for a very long time. It's chronic dull pain that just exists until you just confront the thing you're afraid of. And is that really better? Is that less painful overall? It's hard to say that convincingly. Oxy is a very cool, unlikely protagonist though.
はいけどもしよけれ
Out of
ば
my way, I'm gonna go see Venus in its final phase. That's so dramatic. I love it. The clouds aren't helping. Maybe there will be a super dramatic cloud reveal. This concentration. It's the fear.
見つけろ見えろ
There it is. There was a dramatic cloud reveal. Yeah, I need a diagram, please. Okay. Or just light blasting Oxy in the face.
満ちてる
They all see it. That's great.
ずっと前と同じ空を見てるのに
Totally different in context.
少し前からまるで
This is also a great metaphor for so many things.
だろう。
You've heard it all your life,
きっとそ
but
れ
once you
が
understand it,
何かを知るということだ。
interesting. I saw when I paused, that's the episode title. What it means to learn something, I think. Wow, I just got chills. What's funny is the thing we use to explain this is an example of this thing itself. The cliche for this thing is that you complete the journey and arrive in the same place that you began, only now you know it for the first time. And that is what it is, but I think you don't really understand that even. It just sounds cliche until you experience that very thing. You know, like so many of my most cherished things that I believe that give me hope and I feel are inspiring are those things which I had heard my whole life, often even rejected my whole life, only to realize that what I was rejecting wasn't the actual meaning of the thing or the intended meaning of the thing or the deepest, most generous reading of the thing. It was something that had been a little bit warped and distorted either through the telephone game that is human communication or just the limits of my own conception or both. So many things that I thought were stupid were actually very stupid in the way I was interpreting them. But that's a key distinction. This is not just a sky, right? What's really terrifying about this is that probably this phenomenon, this experience, can be experienced for just about anything. And to make a safer statement that I'm more confident in, almost certainly anything for which there is at least a minimum sufficient level of complexity. It's all going to be a reflection of something much more profound than it initially seems. It's just that perhaps we came into the world with a lesser conception, yet it was always there, so we took it for granted. Or we just didn't have the cognitive complexity to to understand the intricacies of the ways in which they're connected and the intensity of the information it's reflecting. And now the question is, how does PS take it? Oh. It's a lot to take in. For so many reasons. Give it some time. It looked like he saw it himself, and he also saw it in the past. Sympathy for PS overall, but this is just a little bit annoying because you made this challenge. You set this up. You couldn't have thought of this before. I mean, he's just hurting. He's just deeply hurt inside. It wouldn't really matter what it was. He'd find a way out at first. My history. This is a true test.
積み重ねた研究を一瞬で否定する力があって個人の都合や信念を軽く超えて
It's interesting that this is coming from him.
いつか天国で私に聞かせてくれ
Truth. Here it is, yeah. The cycle continues. And they will not be the last. He doesn't want to let it go. The torch was not passed easily. With great reluctance and sadness and tears. That's also true. Don't take this lightly. Even in being incorrect. It's funny because that makes me think that phrasing was deliberate. You know, we will shape the cosmos. But that doesn't mean it isn't beautiful and great. It's just like there's a little bit of misinterpretation happening there about the direction and the reason why it's great. I don't think this is Cope. I think this is true. I mean, he may be saying this out of Cope, but it's also true. Cope and hope.
早速だがオクチー君はここの資料を村まで運んでくれ
Is this something society has lost, like this hidden book thing? Like the basement in Attack on Titan?
選択は君に任せるが私としてはできればここで外れてほしい研究は一人で行いたい
わかりました
Okay.
今回の件は非常に助かった
How about for the camaraderie?
何か一つ頼みを聞き入れよ
うでは地動説を完成させてください
That purity.
もし後日我々が捕まったとしても君は無関係を貫け
That's also a kindness and also practical. Someone keeps the torch
資
burning.
料頼んだぞ
はい。
I feel a little bit discarded right now, but okay. It's all for science. And for truth. What are you doing later?
文字が読めるってどんな感じなんですか
Oh, well, maybe we have time for this now.
こんな表現を気軽に使っちゃいけないことは分かってます
Oxy maybe gets more than he bargains
その
for.
表現以外で表せないから言いますけど
What do you feel about reading?
文字はまるで奇跡ですよ
Oh, it's blasphemous to say they're miracles.
本当に文字はすごいんですあれが使えると時間
Oh,
と
well,
場所
we
が
gotta learn how to
超
read
越
and
で
write
きる
then.
200年前の情報に涙が流れる
Speaking of knowing something for the first time,
1000年前の噂話で笑うこともある
I'm not fully appreciating reading and writing, apparently.
文字を読むときだけはかつていた偉人たちが私に向かって口を開いてくれるその一瞬この時代から抜け出せ
That is a
る
really beautiful way of looking at it.
文字になった思考はこの世に残ってずっと未来の誰かを動かすことだってある
Oxy blown away. He did get more than he bargained for. He was just making conversation. Okay, I'm sold.
そんなに
That's the best pitch for reading I've ever heard. They need to show this in schools. For just so many reasons, but there's another one. Which subject are we replacing with Orb on the movements of the Earth? I use the word and I like thinking about abstraction a lot, but there's more to it than I feel I can adequately explain. There's some sort of magic in that process of abstraction. Or maybe that's not the right word, but what she's describing is an example of what I'm thinking of like, the thing finds a way to surpass itself and break its own limits and become more than itself. I've talked about this endlessly with money, about how money is an abstraction of value so that it's more liquid and interchangeable. The written word is perhaps that same thing, but for information. Information is no longer limited to the person that has the information, and also breaks the barrier and the limits of person-to-person oral communication, much like money breaks the barrier of the limits of two people having goods that they both want so that they can barter. It does sort of break time, right? Now that I hear her monologue. And now it breaks location. I just had a thought that I don't think I could put into words fully. It's sort of too big for me, but the sensation of the fact that we have so many of these things that are interplaying and combining all at once, and it's definitely not the end of the road, right? All of these things are complex products in and of themselves. What happens or what forms from the interconnection of all of them? I'll bet he feels somewhat relieved. And he's still working. Somebody help him, for God's sake. He's gonna love to hear it. Right, that was his request. It's very sad. But it's great that it seems he found some peace with it. It's also a testament to his character. That even despite all those misgivings, he still made it there in the end. He found it. Because that could easily not have been the case, right? I mean, he could have been committed and dug his heels in to the very end. And in fact, I think the more time passes, the less likely it becomes that they'll revert. Though, I mean, you never know. Weirdly, I also think that if time were infinite, everybody would revert to the ultimate highest truth. But just given this man of normal human life, it's just very easy to get set in your ways. Man, this episode, I kind of had a general sense of where PS would go, but the delivery of it was way more impactful and beautiful than I thought. And this show has a way of like, it gives you the idea that seems like it'll be essential to the episode, but there's a lot more going on at the same time, and there are layers to those ideas, and they interconnect between characters and between episodes. So even going way back to the beginning, there is that idea of even wrong answers can be beautiful. I think this has a very strong connection to that idea, but just so beautifully fleshed out. PS ends up being a very sympathetic character despite his begrudgingness, and there's a really profound beauty hinged on sadness to his observation of the uncovering of Venus. I also love the episode title and Baldani's comment that I think this is just what it means to learn. I think often the truth can hurt at first, but I think once it's properly contextualized, it's always going to be something good. It's probably going to be relief. In fact, you can maybe even say that what makes any given truth painful is that it's perhaps being interpreted through the lens of things that are not truth. So it's maybe not the truth that hurt in the first place. It was the lies and faulty assumptions, the ideas we hold that are largely being held onto based on our fears, that cause us to interpret the truth in a way that feels hurtful or negative. But if those things are also to be burned in the purifying fire of the truth, then the truth we're looking at would probably cease to be painful and just be what it is.